first. So I am first to the live stream. Be waiting on the most tardy by 3 seconds. Bobby and Rody. I presume Rody and Bobby are coming. Welcome everybody to DGen Sunday.
I've actually been here for 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Oh, damn it!
I had to get the show started to get people in the chat. What's going on?
What is going on?
How was the rest of your weekend?
Weekend was good. By the way, and I've been trying to work out, State King stuff. Dude, let me tell you something. We get this thing set up.
Yeah.
You, me, and Rody, I'm telling you, we're gonna revolutionize.
Let's do it.
Let's make, dude. I'm the only one posting in the DFS package update forum. Like
I know. Well, I know we've been. I still hope that you continue to do so once we get the set.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? I posted. It's a good thing because I'm trying to figure out like what needs work on State Kings 2. And I'll tell you this: I posted like the MMA thing. Yeah. And like only like, I mean, I was only sold. I was going to sell 20%, and like almost nobody bought any. It was like, I guess
it was
dude, and I like doubled my money in it. That's their loss,
Oh, their loss. What was it? Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Saturdays are a little bit slow usually on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll learn, and we'll learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I did was, again, what I'm going to try to do is every time I post a thing, I remind people, hey, if you want to see kind of the lineup build, sort of, follow my Twitch, and my Twitch routes people directly to this live stream. So when we do it, we should actually put the link to our YouTube channel or something. You know what I mean? Or however we route people to this, and this way, people from State Kings will get onto True DFS too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea.
Let me grab my coffee 1 second.
All right, do your thing. Rody's here. Rody, what's going on, my man?
Yo, I've been here just like you have. I just didn't have my stuff on either, but
yeah.
So Sheets is last, actually.
Yeah. Let's go with what it really is. Call it what it really is.
So I know he was all hyped up for being first or whatever.
Hyped. We're hyped.
He's all fired up today. That's good. I think we got some winners today.
Dude, I've got the most terrible take in the world ready to fire off to you guys.
Oh, I love it. Let's start off with that, Sheets.
No way. They got to earn it. People have to be in the chat. If they want to know who's going to win the $1 million, like the real hoodoo play that is going to score 0 fantasy points, but maybe not. They have to earn this one.
Okay, I like that. Well, I'll go with. I guess I'll go with
Actually, I'll tell you what. When we get to it in the normal course of business, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be part of our normal kind of segments. So,
yep.
So you just lead. Tell us what you want to do.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. I'll start off real quick with like a take that I have that it's not going to be right every week. It's the highest owned game that I've got by a long shot. I sort of alluded to it on shows I did with both you guys. I will be way overweight when no one is going to play this Pittsburgh Cincinnati game.
Almost no one.
I've got a good 30% of that as game stacks right now. And that's a lot for this kind of a slate, I feel like. And especially that's probably 10 times the ownership of that game getting stacked. So I'm very into that. And what I like about it too is there's flexibility. If you want to mix in some of those, let's say you have a good first start with multiple lineups. So I split them in half, and then the other half goes to the Dallas and Minnesota game in the afternoon. You've got some flexibility with it, which adds a little extra juice for me. So I can justify it by saying, okay, I'm playing 30% of it, but I can cancel out 10% and make it the Minnesota Dallas game, which is a good total. I'm just not crazy about either quarterback. So I really like that. I'm getting heavy on the afternoon games. I think that half of my lineups will be set on these afternoon games. And then also you could mix in the Denver Las Vegas situation, which is not my favorite, but certainly one I don't mind getting to because of the value for Denver. And you've got 2 big spend ups for Vegas that could obviously smash the slate. So I guess that's my overall take, is that half of my main stacks are going to end up being in the afternoon on this, only 3 games in the afternoon. So I don't see other people doing that much. So that's sort of my overall, my first look, what I'm doing to get different. I'm also way overweight on, I don't know. I'm overweight on Josh Allen stacks, and I'm overweight on Justin Fields stacks as a little bit more chalky. What are you stacking up, Rody? And then we'll get over to you, Sheets.
Yeah, I like the Josh Allen call. I think I'm going to get onto him more. I think I don't like the Fields. I'm not going to keep playing him. I mean, he projects good. I mean, his ownership's still kind of high. I know it was trending down a little bit, but I mean, for $900 more, you can get Josh Allen. So I agree with taking the Josh Allen approach. Yeah, so I like that. I did make a Burrow stack because we did talk on the pick show of that game. So I'm getting a little bit more on that game. I do like Najee on the other side of that game, 5,500. So I'm just kind of keeping those stacks pretty tight. I do like some Mariota. I do like some Dak in that Minnesota game, and I'm kind of keeping it tight to those stacks. So
I like it. How about you? How about you, Sheets? What are you looking to stack up mostly today?
So Rody's he created a Burrow stack. I created a Burrow stack and 31 other Burrow stacks. So I have Burrow is Cincinnati's my highest owned stack. I have him 20%.
Let's go, Sheets. Let's go.
And then I actually forced in 12% Pittsburgh stacks as well. On the other side of that.
Look who's on the same page. Look at this. We're on the same page, and we never are on the same page on Sunday.
So now we're gonna lose. So my next one under Minnesota is, not surprisingly, I have kind of tied Minnesota, Buffalo, I said Pittsburgh already, and Dallas, and then the one that's it's every time I think about it, it just seems like just a bad play, but it's going to be owned, but I guess. I don't know. I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to have 10% Atlanta stacks. It's just a stupid play, but I'm going to do it anyway. They project well, and Mariota freaking stinks, though. But anyway, so I do have 10% of that. But as far as my stacks go, that's what it is. You know, and then I have as I'm playing 150, and I have some slivers of the Giants, some slivers of Washington because McLaurin looks like a good play. So I'm going to have some with Heineke. I have a couple of Vegases and stuff. The ones that I'm you can't have everybody, right? But the ones that I have almost none of that are going to probably get me. I don't have any Cleveland stacks. Mm-hmm. And then I have like one, and then like maybe one Philadelphia stack or something like that. So aside from that, that's where I am as far as stacks go.
I like that. I'll throw out this real quickly, my other ones, because I have, I mentioned I have 6% Dak, 4% Cousins. I have 10% of the Philly stack with Hurts. I have, and then I've got 8% with the Baltimore stack, but I don't really like this. I like Lamar to Andrews. And then I think you have just really reasonably priced options to run back, whether it be DJ Moore or D'Onta Foreman. Obviously with the total, you wouldn't want it. Foreman's going to get overlooked. And then we're going to have, let's turn this into talking, because we talked about our stacks, which sort of tells about our quarterbacks. But I'm going to bring up something at running back here. So Kenyon Drake is sort of everybody's darling this morning, if you listen to any of the other shows and all that stuff. And I completely understand it. I just want to warn people. We've seen this before where we think Drake's going to get all the work, and it goes Justice Hill gets as many carries. It goes, Mike Davis gets a few carries in there. There just is a weird path for him not to succeed. But overall, the matchup, the two touchdown favorite, basically, Kenyon Drake is a guy who's popping, who wasn't early in the week because Gus Edwards is out. So I'm up to 25% of them. I think I want to get less than that. But we'll talk about other running backs. I'm at 25% Najee Harris, 26% Ramondre Stevenson. I have 40% David Montgomery, which feels weird. So I'm probably going to lower that a little bit. 10% Kamara, 10% Jonathan Taylor, 30% Damian Pierce, 10% D'Onta Foreman, 15% Cordarrelle Patterson. I think if there was a week where Patterson can get the work back, this might be the week. So if I'm going to make my field stacks, I like Patterson as a run back more than I did earlier in the week because I'm scared about the three running back split. The truth is they want to make the playoffs. Patterson's getting back to healthy. I think in the most important moments, he'll be on the field. He'll get the goal line work and 100 yards and maybe some catches with a touchdown. I feel feels very much on the table for him. So that's mainly what I'm doing. I'm not playing as much of the spend ups at running back. I currently, and I'm going to have to hold my breath on this one because it's the best matchup in football. I don't have any Barkley anywhere. Talk about that, Rody, because we talked about this a little bit when we did our show, Rody. Why do I play Barkley, who sort of seems to cap out around 26, 27 fantasy points, and he's been awesome. He's consistent with it. When I can play Justin Jefferson, who I don't even necessarily, it's not that I love Jefferson, but if he gets there, he's getting me 40, 40 plus, something like that. That's why I can't quite talk myself into this Barkley play. But yes, could Barkley get 40? Sure. He hasn't done it all season. As the season wears on, I think you're getting more and more beat up. I think Daniel Jones snakes enough of his touchdown upside because Daniel Jones has about, what does he have? I think it's a 40% touchdown rushing upside. Like when you compare the two of them, like he gets 40% of the running work. So really, in some senses, Barkley is getting like the split carries near the goal line, which people aren't really looking at it like that. But that's my argument against Barkley and the fact that he's just crazy expensive. What do you got with Barkley, and then who else are you playing, Rody? And then we'll go to Sheets.
Yeah, that's funny because I don't have much Barkley on DK. I just built a lineup with him in it, my only one on DK. So like I'm right there with you, and he's very pricey on FanDuel. I probably won't get to him over there either. So yeah, I'm a little lighter on him. I do like some of these upside receivers or cheaper receivers. It's really hard to build today, and I am starting to like some of these like cheaper running backs. You got like, Stevenson's getting a lot of workload there for New England. Pierce there for Houston. I don't mind. They're cheaper. I am getting a lot of Kamara though today. I think like I usually play him when he's lower owned, and I usually off him when he's higher owned. So he's coming in about 11% today. I kind of like him a little bit. I'm sprinkling him in some of my bigger lineups.
By the way, just to go along with the Kamara thing. Sorry, before I didn't want to leave it out that I'm playing a lot of Mixon. Go ahead, Rody. Sorry about that.
Oh, you are playing
Mixon and Kamara are similar price, so I have them a lot together. Keep going.
Yeah, I've been off that Cincinnati game. I know Bobby was on the Cincinnati game, and Sheets is clearly on the Cincinnati game, so I'll probably add a little bit to that, and some of the like smaller MME stuff I do. But I don't have a lot of Mixon. I'm trying to get a little more JT. Jonathan Taylor is more of a spend up. I am getting a little bit of Drake. Devin Singletary, I like his opposite to the Allen Stacks. You can pair him with maybe like a Peoples Jones or something. I got a little like a mini correlation of that game. Najee, I'm getting a lot of, and I have a tight player pool at running back today, and those are pretty much the guys.
Nice.
I'm interested in that. We talked on the pick show about the Tony Pollard.
Yeah,
I don't have the Zeke news yet, but like maybe he's still going to get a lot of the workload, and like he could be a late swap that we need to look into, guys. So keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, and I'm sort of keeping, Zeke, I'm assuming, gives it a go today, but I actually do think the Pollard thing is hard for me to ignore. Maybe coming off of a loss, you could even mix in some Zeke, by the way. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I just think, God, if I'm Dallas, I'm just going, okay, we've got a thoroughbred here, and we're running this other old man into the ground, I feel like, with Zeke. Sheets, what are you doing with running back?
Well, I want to ask you a little more, Rody, about the running backs for a second before I kind of chime in here. Did you think about either or both of the Washington running backs, or not really?
I should have probably said that. I do have Gibson in a couple, none of my bigger buy-in lineups, but like some of the MME. I have no Brian Robinson, but yeah, I hear a lot of the people have been talking this morning about mixing those guys in. They're both pretty cheap too, so I don't mind it.
All right, so I want to talk about that a little bit, that specific thing, and I think it's important. So I watched that Washington game just like everybody else did, okay, against Philadelphia. And from what I saw, like they want to just cram Robinson the ball, and Gibson is I really feel as though he's the secondary guy. I mean, and Bobby, we've talked about this for a year.
I've been saying this for a long time, yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. And whether it's the right call by them or not, it just seems to be the case. But nonetheless, I mean, Gibson does get work, and whatever it is, and I've heard some takes about maybe some people want to play Brian Robinson, some people want to play Antonio Gibson. Let me go back to basics for just a minute, okay? For DFS, the thing about running backs is that you want to have running backs that well, in a perfect world, right, get all the work, and they also have PPR upside. Okay, obviously you can't get everything, right? So, but at least you want to have something. Like you either want to have like all the work or, PPR upside. Now you have these two guys like Brian Robinson, and you actually just don't even know like which one of them is the lead guy. I mean, like you could argue, both sides of this, right? But it's not sure. And Brian Robinson has basically no PPR upside or whatever it is. And I just have a question. I mean, honestly, and not to beat a dead horse about this the same exact play, but if you're gonna like struggle and pick this freaking timeshare, how are either of these guys even close to Najee Harris as a play? I mean, Najee Harris is the Pittsburgh running back, all right? Period. And not even period. You ... He also has PPR upside. I couldn't imagine, and that's the first thing I did was when I ran my builds. I did get some Brian Robinson, and I said any Brian Robinson like lineup that I had that had like 200 or 300 on the table that I could upgrade to freaking Najee. I just did. I don't see the logic in playing either of those Washington guys over Najee Harris in any variation. That's whether you want to comment on that first before I go into my running backs or not. Yep. I
would love to touch on that real quick, just because.
Go ahead, go for it.
I'm on the Harris side as well today, partially because I have that game stacked up so many ways and it fits in perfectly at 5,500. But I do have some Gibson, and my thinking, what I'm afraid of is that either Gibson or Robin. I mean, it's basically the nut matchup for running backs in all of football against Houston. And it's really hard for me to ignore that, because every week we talk about this stuff, but it really is. And they're going to both get fed a ton combined. Now, I agree that Robinson may be the better back. I think Gibson is the more of the guy who you're going to get the goal line carries with. And for what it's worth, he's the one who tends to score the touchdowns, and he's also got the PPR upside. But overall, that's my only fear about the Harris over either of those guys is one of them probably gets, but even getting there, what do they get to 20 or something? If they're both, I want the guy who's going to get me 30, has that chance to get 30. But the truth is they do, just because the matchup's so great. It's just really hard to know. Cause like you said, anybody who's watching them play, it's pretty clear the number one running back is Robinson for them. Why? I don't know. Right. Antonio Gibson, it's sort of like when Swift was a little healthier, the Swift and Jamal Williams thing. I don't know. It's just the matchup is so good. I still don't want to X them out of my builds, but I am mostly on the same side as you. So anyway, go to the rest of your running backs.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The problem is my running back. I'm really, really struggling. I'm rerunning a whole nother set of projections with the Gus Edwards being out thing, to see if that kind of impacts anything. I guess it has to, right? I mean, so you're telling me that Kenyon Drake is now popping as a good play, Rody, like on the optimals and stuff.
I mean, he's not popping as like a great play, but I mean, he moved up a bunch.
Well, but Bob, you're saying you're getting like 25% of him?
I've got a lot of him right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I see him, and I think that his ownership is being under projected because of the news coming in later this morning. But it's like for example, like Goldie, I don't think has updated his projections. So he's got him at 9 fantasy points, whereas SaberSim has him at 15 or 14.2. Like he's projected ahead with more fantasy points than Singletary, more than Pollard, more than Gibson. And it's hard for me to believe he stays less owned than these guys, as he's been pretty effective when he's been in there. All I just would say is he basically breaks a big play in all those games where he's getting there. And he could do it again today. I mean, it's kind of ugly weather in the Baltimore game. It's going to be more ground game. The only problem is it's sort of the argument I made against Barkley, but Barkley is 8,900, which is why I don't want to do it. You lose touchdown upside to Lamar. Like, you know what I mean? You lose the rushing upside to Lamar. It's even when you have a solo back in a team like Baltimore, you really are like, you should treat him like a split carry running back, the same way David Montgomery should be treated like a split carry running back with Justin Fields.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. The other running backs, see, listen, I'll go back to Pierce. Ramondre Stevenson, I don't think he's going to eat up the Jets. You know what I mean? I think the Jets are fine. But I don't think any running back is that great today. I mean, like Josh Jacobs looks pretty good. Montgomery looks pretty good. Kamara looks pretty good. Like all the guys you mentioned. You know what I mean? Jonathan Taylor. I have sort of like a semi-fraudulent take there. I mean, I just kind of I'm kind of off of the Colts in that game. I know that like Paris Campbell is popping and all these Colts are popping and Jonathan Taylor and all this stuff. And people saw Washington just run all over them last week. But why is this happening?
What's happening?
Oh, nothing. Just projection related stuff.
Yeah.
DK. NFL DK.
All right. So
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So quarterbacks were with our stacks to answer the question in the chat. And we're stacking up different teams. The quarterbacks I have the most of are Burrow, Fields, Josh Allen, some Hurts, some Dak, and a little bit of Cousins right now, with a little bit of Kenny Pickett as well, and Daniel Jones. That's pretty much my whole quarterback pool in order of ownership. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. There's questions in there, guys. Fire on in the questions and everything. Good morning to everybody. Rody, let's talk a little bit about wide receiver, because Sheets sort of alluded to.
Start with Sheets. I'm gonna have a friend here in a minute.
Sheets, let's talk about the wide receivers. You mentioned being off of guys like Campbell, who I'm getting to some of. To be honest, I just feel like Philly is, if they're not able to run the ball, which they may be, I feel like one of Taylor, Pittman, Campbell, it's really hard for me not just to cross those guys off. And I'm including some Alec Pierce as well. As much as Philly has some talent, they are a team that can get beaten by some big plays, or they're going to get beaten on the ground. So I'm sort of treating it like that way, an either or. And I'm not stacking up that game necessarily so much. I do have like 10% of it. But I like the idea of getting to some Jack Stoll at tight end. Unfortunately, it could be any of the 3 tight ends, but I think it'll be Stoll. And I'm getting to Devontae and A.J. Brown as some individual plays with Pittman or Campbell or Taylor on the other side. And I'm also using Donovan Peoples-Jones just to go through receiver. I'm using him quite a bit as a value receiver. I am going to force in some Van Jefferson. I just think one of these Rams guys has to have some sort of a game. Higbee's my favorite, but it's the worst position for them because, New Orleans does a good job against tight ends. So those are my cheaper ones that I'm sort of getting to. I have some Kendall Hinton, some Garrett Wilson, some Drake London. Those are my sort of cheaper ones. And then the guys who I'm getting to at the higher end, I have a lot more than I expected to of CeeDee Lamb. I have a lot of Courtland Sutton, which I think is going to be pretty popular, but I actually like the play. And it's just, come on, Russ, have one game. So Hinton and Sutton, between the two of them, I've got like 46% of them, because I've got 11% Hinton as well. I'll probably get a little less than that. DJ Moore, chalky, but mid-range I like. Amon-Ra St. Brown, always a good play. And then I have Diggs, but I actually have more Gabe Davis. And Rody, we talked about that a little bit on our show. I'm into this Gabe Davis thing, whether I'm stacking the game or not. Gabe Davis is a big play guy who's in that range, and no one plays him because they feel like they're going to play the Bills. They're going to play They're going to play Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is going to break 3 or 4 slates every year. 25% of the games, basically, you're talking about that he's going to break. Why wouldn't this be the one for him? So I am very big on Gabe Davis as my not get weird, even just a guy who seems like he almost should be chalky, but isn't really. And if you talk about like guys like Gabe Davis versus Pittman, while Pittman is going to get the median score more often, I think Gabe Davis has a tremendous amount more upside than guys like that do. So who are you playing at wide receiver, Rody?
You guys hear me now? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of those guys. I get Gabe Davis and some of the bigger ones too. I like Sutton. Yeah, I did have one sleeper stack. I did put another Russell Wilson, Greg Dulcich, whatever, with Sutton in there type of stack. So I do like that. Justin Jefferson's big play upside. I probably like the Colts receiver Pittman, and not as much Paris Campbell, but a little bit maybe sprinkled in, but like Pittman a little bit more than Sheets did. CeeDee Lamb I'm getting a lot of. I like that a lot. And let's see if any other plays. Yeah, and I just pretty much with my stacks, I'm getting some Terry McLaurin. I think he's cheap, 5,900 on DK, like Drake London at 5,100. Some Mooney a little bit in the Atlanta game stacked up. I like him as a run back, not just as much Montgomery. Allen Robinson, 5,600. I like that. Some cheaper guy, Michael Gallup or Noah Brown in that same game. You can go different off of CD if you want to get there. I probably got less Amon St. Brown, but he's a guy that can, do some damage. And then, pretty much staying with my stacks there, and then pretty much keeping those guys going. So,
yeah, I hear you. Sheets helped you for some of these receivers. We also like Boyd and Higgins here. I think I think the obvious answer, and people are asking it already in chat, the Poker X Factor people are. Shout out to you guys. But I would say Higgins is clearly the guy you're trying to target. He'll also be much more popular than Boyd, and they're not going to. Neither one is going to be overly popular, but I think Higgins is the obvious answer. Boyd is the home run play. Anyway, she's talking about your.
I mean, what part of the reason why I like that game, both from the Pittsburgh side and the Cincinnati side, is I know exactly where those targets are going. Exactly. I mean, at least I think I do, right? So you could play Higgins and Boyd, play them together, you know, and make sure that, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that when I only have one of them, that I don't only have one of them. You know what I mean? Like I'm splitting up my ownership between Boyd and Higgins. And then on the other side of the Pittsburgh game, you know, Pickens, who's projected for like no fantasy points for some reason, like him and Deontay Johnson makes sense. And we'll get to tight end in a little bit, you know, when we talk about Freiermuth. But that's one of the reason why I like that game is because I don't have to struggle over whether I want to play Khalif Raymond or not. You know what I mean? So that's that. Other receivers that you didn't mention, well, I'll just reiterate. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You mentioned. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones much better than Paris Campbell. I like that. Terry McLaurin, I agree with. The Atlanta game, again, part of stacks. I mean, Drake London certainly makes a lot of sense at only 5,100. Jefferson, Thielen, Sutton. You mentioned all these guys. But I mean, as long as we're talking about it, so you want to know who's really going to win $1 million? Now, again, he's not really, but he might. So can I interest you in something? Let's see. So the tight end for what's his name for the Eagles. He's out, right?
Oh, well, Goddard is out, yeah.
Right. So I guess some people are going to come up with like the backup tight end or whatever it is, whoever that is, Stoll or whoever that is. I don't know who that is, but let me suggest something else. Can I interest you in some Zach Pascal revenge going back to Indianapolis? Oh, no. Okay. It'll be all by myself then. No problem.
No okay, problem. Go ahead. It's all you.
This way I'll be unique. That's fine. Because from what I've read, what I've heard, like the packages that they kind of run, we're more going to be getting Zach Pascal more snaps in there. So I'm very interested in taking a shot there. And remember, I have to only play 5% to be like 100% over the field.
Yep.
So I'm gonna that's gonna be my awful take of the day is Zach Pascal from the Eagles in Indianapolis.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I would personally prefer Watkins if I had to pick between the two of them, but we'll see. That's pretty much something I didn't expect to hear today. I wasn't expecting the Zach Pascal talk as the wide receiver 4. I think I would prefer Trent Taylor he's my super get weird one is Trent Taylor from Cincinnati.
But I think I went over everybody else I have over 5% of. I mean, like Gallup. I presume that people are going to play Gallup, right? I mean, if you're going to play anybody,
I really like Gallup. Yeah, I like
Gabe Davis. You guys mentioned. Oh, you know who you didn't mention? Did you talk about you talked about Cortland Sutton a little bit. You want to play any Kendall Hinton at 3,600?
Yeah, I talked about him. I have 11% of him.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
And the only other guy, literally, that we didn't mention that I have over 5% of is from the Giant game, Darius Slayton, and that's then everybody else we've talked about.
Yep. The Giants one is one I would love for you to. I have Slayton as my guy if I have to, because I have Daniel Jones as in like 6% of my lineups. It just feels really weird. This guy, like, it's so hard to find a receiver to play with him, and it's like that with Fields as well. All I would say is that if Cole Kmet is going to be low owned again, and I just want to throw this out as we lead into tight end, this is just stupid on our part. I mean, why wouldn't we think they figured maybe a little something happening? Look, he's getting a reasonable percentage of the target share. He gets the goal line looks from Fields. Why, if you're going to play Fields, wouldn't you play Kmet with him? It just seems obvious. I do have some Mooney and Claypool also, to be honest, but I really, really think that it's one of those things like because it's a trend and everybody's like, oh, I don't want to chase that. I don't want to chase that. It's not going to happen. Are we getting a little too out of control when the guy who's outscored any of these tight ends who he's being compared with the last 2 games, he's outscored what they've done all season long, and none of them have had 2 games like this. It's just, and he said the last 2 games with a quarterback who's up and coming. Why wouldn't we see that as a trend more than an outlier? And that doesn't mean it's going to continue today, but it's something we should be overweight on as a community as a whole on the Cole Kmet thing.
And not only that, Bobby, but for the last, I've played Cole Kmet probably more than most people in the past 3 years or whatever. And the guy always was supposed to have talent. You know what I mean? He's had just remember he was playing with Trubisky. I mean, you know what I mean? So you have a guy. Listen, you have a guy like Fields that runs around all over the place, and their offense is now officially a threat. You know what I mean? That one of the things that happens when there's chaos is these tight ends just end up, open, down the field, and Kmet is, listen, 2 weeks in a row. I obviously maybe it's double outlier, but hell, if he's going to be lower owned than Higbee 100 weeks in a row, maybe you should listen.
But we also if you like the idea of playing Fields, why wouldn't I play the 3% guy who's dominated the position with him? You know what I mean? It just makes
absolutely.
No sense. And I just feel like I don't care if he has 0 catches today for 0 yards. I believe in taking these takes, and I believe that's how you win. And you spot trends, you get ahead of it, and you go versus the field on it. Because we're going to play Tyler Higbee in a terrible matchup, which I actually like, by the way. Kyle Pitts, we're going to play for a team that never throws the ball, which I actually like also, by the way. And then you get, why is, and by the way, I really like Dawson Knox today. I'm just going to keep beating myself. I don't care whether this works or not. I'm just going with it. The team that doesn't cover the middle, I'm into the Buffalo thing. Dawson Knox is going to be popular now, more popular than he was going to be. But I'm definitely on the Dawson Knox side. But you mix in guys like Dalton Schultz, Kyle Pitts, Hayden Hurst, Greg Dulcich, Pat Freiermuth. Why are all of these guys significantly more owned? Foster Moreau. All of these guys significantly more owned than Cole Kmet, who's outscored them the last 2 weeks more than they have done all season with a quarterback who's got a new thing literally finding himself in their offense. I just don't understand it. Am I missing something, Rody? If you're going to play Fields, I know you're not into Fields today, but don't you think you play him with Kmet?
Yeah, if you're playing Fields, you're going to have Kmet. I think you got to play him with him, and he's been tearing it up for sure. So yeah, I definitely I'm building some right now. I'm building at large or MME and throwing some weird plays with him to just that people aren't going to play, and just hopefully if he does go off, he's not going to burn me this week. I'll play him in 3 or 4 lineups. So
yeah,
but he's got to commit on all of them. So
I think all these guys are viable. It's every week with the tight ends, right? You play it. You're either paying up for Andrews. I don't know if Hawkinson's in that weird in between thing where I'm just not quite getting to him, but I certainly don't mind the idea of it. They definitely look for him. But you have all these 4K guys that just rate to be very similar to me. And in that case, I'll take the low-owned one with the quarterback who I'm desperate to find someone to stack with. So, perfect. It works out well for me. Anyway, Sheets, what are you doing with some of your tight ends? And then, Rody, we'll go back to you to get the rest of your favorite tight ends.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Well, definitely Freiermuth, right? I mean.
Yeah, he's in our game. And so Hayden Hurst as well.
Freiermuth for sure. I mean, he's my highest owned tight end overall. And then other guys I have, Kyle Pitts, Dawson Knox. I mean, you mentioned all these guys. Hurst, Higbee, Hawkinson. Foster Moreau continues to be good value. Dulcich continues to be good value. You mentioned Schultz as well. I mean, nothing really gone to Kmet. And then if you're going to play your Heineke stacks, you may as well throw Logan Thomas in at 2,800.
Mm-hmm.
Now this guy again, he doesn't really generate all that much, but Tyler Conklin's been sort of active this year, for the Jets.
I like that. I just put a note down on my sheet to make sure to add him into the mix.
Hey, before we go on other things, only because this is the lineup that's right on my screen right now.
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask you, Rody, about this. So you're interested in you're playing Minnesota today, right? A decent amount.
I don't have a lot of them. I have pieces.
Oh no, because I was going to say. I mean, is anybody getting any KJ Osborne? You're at 4K.
I do. I have KJ Osborne 5%.
Yeah, Bobby talked about him on the pick show too, about KJ getting a lot of work too. So
he had 11 targets last week. I know it was a weird game with the Bills, but this game could be that kind of game. And you've got pretty good corners in Dallas, which means the third receiver could be the guy who ends up getting there. So I like where I'm playing. Right, as of right now, I only have 4% of because I hate playing Kirk Cousins. I actually like the idea of stacking that game without Cousins involved. But Cousins, where I'm playing Cousins, I will have KJ Osborne in those lineups. Rody, talk about some of your top tight ends that I know we sort of touched on it for a second, but who are you getting the most of?
Yeah, tight end for me, pretty condensed actually. Like Knox, I like. Njoku is back today too in that game. If you do want to do a double tight end, I know it's kind of crazy. No, that never wins, but
no,
he
it
would be
does.
like a good run. I know People Jones is a good run back. But Njoku's possible if you're playing like a Gabe Davis, McKenzie, and Njoku type thing or whatever. But yeah, I like him. I don't have as much Higbee. I got a lot of Pitts, I think, this week. And I think I'm just all in on Dawson Knox this week. And yeah, I don't have much of that Jack Stoll. I know he's viable on some of the sites. Like he's only 2,500 on DK or whatever, so he's viable. Yeah, pretty tight pool today. A lot of Pitts. I do have some Hawkinson, Greg Dulcich as well. And Njoku. Not a lot of Knox, so
yeah, I'm gonna throw one thing out about Jack Stoll, why he's especially viable in your hurt. I don't think I'll have hurt stacks without him. Maybe one. You have the Indy team that does a really good job against wide receivers, both 1 and 2. Why wouldn't we get involved with a 2,500 guy for a quarterback that loves to throw to his tight end? You know what I mean? Like it just feels like I feel like the Stoll thing is like. It wouldn't have surprised me if someone said early in the week, "Oh, Stoll's going to be 15 or 20% owned," and because he had a nothing game on Monday night, all of a sudden he's going to be what? He's going to be 3% owned, 4% owned. It's another one of those spots that I want to get over on. So I will make a note to get a little more Stoll. I like the idea of getting to maybe some Njoku, but I'm spreading out a lot with these guys. I feel like there are a lot of similar plays. The one who I think has the best chance of breaking the slate from a tight end, who could win the most point per dollar, the two guys I have would be Kmet and Higbee, just to get that finished. All right, let's talk about some defenses. I'm spending down on defense. Looking at my ownership right now, I've got 25% Steelers, which is, again, you want to thin that out. Don't want to have that much of any of these teams, even though, like I said, I love that game, but I have a ton of Steelers defense. I have 10% Panthers, 5% Jets, 7% Lions, 25% Texans. That might be a little bit too high. 5% Raiders, sort of spreading out outside of the Texans and Steelers, who are the obvious spend downs. And if I had to prioritize defenses, they would be New Orleans, the Rams, and the Bengals. The problem is getting to them financially. How about you, Rody?
Yeah, defense, I got quite a bit of the Steelers. I do like spending up to the Ravens a little bit. On FanDuel, I like the Raiders. I do got a little bit of the Raiders on DK as well. Yeah, just kind of spreading it out. I do have a little bit of the Texans. I did drop down. I think there was a $2,200 one I did have some of. Maybe I picked the Colts. I don't know. One of them I needed $100 and I grabbed one of those cheap ones, but I got a lot of Steelers. Some Raiders, Texans, like I said, and Commanders even a little bit. I did do a Cowboys one too. I know everyone's high on that game, but like we talked on the DFS Pick Show, guys, that
love that
Cousins isn't very good under pressure. He can throw a lot of picks. He could get sacks. So like 1 pick six and 4 or 5 sacks in that game. I mean, the Cowboys defense could be 15 points, and they could be the optimal defense. So.
Yeah. Sheets, how about you at defense? And then we'll start getting some questions. Guys, pop in the questions. I'll go back and answer everything that was popped in there before.
Yeah, the same. Again, I have to remember the same. I mean, my same caveat as I've done like the whole season. I'm not playing more than 15% of any defense. That's just the way it's going to be. And I got to the same guys you did. Pittsburgh, Texans, Saints, Panthers, Rams. And then I'll just throw in the Patriots, Jets even. I mean, like, just really nothing. No real big take, if you want to know the truth.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, let's get to some questions. And we've got Poker X Factor, our guy. Cheats, remind me of the gentleman's name who's escaping me right now.
Who's Scott?
Yeah, Scott.
Oh, Scott's in there?
Yeah. Gibson at running back. We talked about it a little earlier. I think Sheets and I are more on Najee Harris, but I have some Gibson exposure, and I think Rody has some Gibson. Is that correct, Rody?
Yeah, only a couple lineups out of a lot.
So. Yeah. Okay. All right. And the answer, again, to go back to the Justin Fields questions, I think you're playing. I think playing him with a receiver. I think playing him naked is completely fine. Obviously, it won all the money last week. But playing him with Kmet would have won all the money too. It's just a matter of which one. You know what I mean? Like the guy who won the Millionaire Maker last week had a naked, what's his name? A naked Justin Fields last week, and played Kelsey at tight end, who had less fantasy points than Cole Kmet, but he won. You know what I mean? Like it's weird how sometimes it just shifts into working out for you. All right. Looks like the questions. I'm trying to see if there's any more out here. Got a lot of compliments for Sheets from Joanne. I feel like Sheets and Joanne have a low key little thing going on our shows here. There's always Sheets, Joanne and Sheets always talking together. Anyway, just kidding around with that. Owsley, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in here. What was Derek Lewis? Sheets, what is that? Is that an MMA reference? Derek Lewis?
Yeah, he was in the main event, and they scratched like post lock on the very first day that DraftKings allowed late swap post lock.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm really happy not to play MMA because I feel like it would drive me nuts now with this late swap thing because I could see how everybody's getting so fired up about it.
Fired up.
All right, Cheats. What do we have to say? What else do you have? What else have you got in terms of like maybe some other stuff we didn't touch on? Maybe
So I once again, I mean, we always I don't say we forget, but I think it's worth me at least like going over on FanDuel what I have that at least might be different than other things. So on now, in fairness, on FanDuel, I didn't aggressively force in the Pittsburgh and Cincinnati as much as I did on DraftKings. So I'm getting kind of different things over there than I would. I'm getting about 20% Dallas over there, 20% Atlanta, and then 15 Minnesota. So nothing really changes with respect to running backs. I'm getting more Montgomery over there. Like he's kind of my priority. I have more of him than anybody else. I don't really see anybody with that much higher ownership over there than I have at DraftKings. Hold on. Drake London a little more over there, which kind of goes with the Atlanta take. Tight end, more Pitts over there, which goes with the Atlanta take. And at least, who I'm getting a little bit of over on FanDuel. That's not much, like 5%. Melvin Gordon. But aside from that, I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, the Melvin Gordon price is just sort of teasing you out there. Like that makes you want to play him, but it's like, is this really a good idea? This guy looks like he shouldn't have stopped playing 5 years ago. but I see the pricing why you're getting there. But I like touching on FanDuel. I'll throw out a few things that I noticed on FanDuel that were different. I think that some of the you can play. I have my main stack has Diggs and Gabe Davis both in it with Josh Allen. And it's partly me thinking that even with the shoulder things that maybe Allen runs a little bit less and both these guys have tremendous upside. I will take that shot and I will run it back with Donovan Peoples-Jones at only 5,900. I think Kyle Pitts stands out even a little bit more over there because all the guys basically being the same price. They were all $3K today on DraftKings. Kyle Pitts, and including Kyle Pitts, he'd obviously be the most popular by a long shot. And that's sort of what's happening on FanDuel. So he stands out even more over there. I love Devontae Smith over there at 6,400. I think that's really reasonable. David Montgomery and Kenyon Drake also stand out as being too cheap, along with Michael Pittman and Drake London and CeeDee Lamb. Those are the guys who stood out for me. Rody, anything on FanDuel to talk about for you?
No, I just got just about the same stuff. I got Josh Allen and Diggs in my main. Peoples-Jones run back in that one. So, right. And the Dawson Knox on that. I mean, I got a lot of Dawson Knox today. So I usually play FanDuel a little bit where I hedge what I don't have on DraftKings. So I probably play a little bit more Barkley over here on FanDuel a little bit, and maybe spend up at running backs a little bit more than I did on DK because I took a lot of the cheap ones on DK. So.
For what it's worth, boots on the ground. Matt is at the Giant game today, and he says it is very windy there.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that because I don't really want to play the passing game anyway. I don't
have much of that either. Yeah.
I want to play what's his name. I want to play the quarterback, but I don't want to play the passing game. I just want to play him alone. Like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is like he's the guy who can get you 30 without throwing the ball for more than 100 yards. Along with Justin Fields. Hey, I see K9's in chat. Who's K9? Love K9 over here. He's a FanDuel guy. K9, if you have any specific FanDuel questions, pop them on in there because I do think that there is some glaring differences. And I just want to remind everybody, though, sometimes when guys seem cheaper, just remember, like, you want the upside. So, like, Devontae Smith is always going to be a guy who's a better play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He's not going to catch 10 balls in most games, but he will catch that 50-yarder. The actual raw points, in real life, not the PPR side of things. Just remember that Kamara always looks like a great play on FanDuel and probably is a great play at 7,500, to be honest with you. But obviously the reason why he always stands out on FanDuel is because he's a PPR monster and they don't reward PPR because it's only half point. Rody, any other takes, anything we didn't touch on that you'd like to hit on before we get out of here?
No, I don't really have anything really more than I said. I'm pretty tight and just kind of rotating my tight player pool today. I don't know. I just
I'll get, what I'll do? I'll give a couple of announcements, I suppose. So for those of you that follow along with this stuff, for those of you who are going to play NBA or NHL today, those slates start at 6:00. I'm going to be posting projections up. Probably won't be till about 5:15. The showdown slate tonight. It's an amazing football game. I think it's KC Chargers. We're going to put those showdown projections up probably after all the games are over. So probably like 7:15, 7:30. But I might try to do it a little before, but they'll get up there eventually. And I'll save the other announcements for what the Tyler thing until we're more organized. Not organized until we have a little more clarity of what we're doing.
Yeah. I think we're on the verge. We'll have it all hopefully done Monday, tomorrow. Okay. And we got some stuff from Tyler, so we just got to go back and forth a little bit, a couple more times, and we'll get there with the Stake King stuff. So don't join now. Wait till we give you a code. Anyway, I guess my hot take, Sheets and I stole it from the beginning with the hot take. And look, I'm not saying that every time this game plays, it's just weird. So you have the 30th ranked pass defense, and you have the team that likes to throw the ball the most of anybody in football, basically, and they're effective at doing it. And they've been a part of the most Millionaire Maker winners over the last season and a half, and no one's playing it. So I'm just going to go back to saying Cincinnati.
I thought you were talking about Zach Pascal. Okay, all right. Cincinnati Pittsburgh. That's worth reiterating also.
If Zach Pascal goes off today, by the way, Sheets, and you don't win a ton of money, I'm going to be furious.
Yeah, I think so. No, I mean, I'm only going to have like 5%, but it's going to put me,
That'll put you 5% above everybody else.
It'll put me 5%.
You will, if you have 10 Pascal or 7 Pascal lineups, that will be 6 more than everybody else has combined.
I think so. I think that could be.
I met you just for fun. Just now, I kind of have to throw him in because you put it into existence.
I did. So,
I really did. To have a Zach Pascal play in one Millionaire Maker lineup for me. Yeah. Just to try.
You know what? Just throw. Listen, it's like just throw it in an Eagle stack or something, or whatever. If you're going to play an Eagle stack, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be the way to do it. To defend the Pascal thing, even though it's really like it's such not a name I thought you were going to go to. I actually thought you were going to say Alec Pierce again. But to defend it, the one thing about the Eagles is they will give touchdowns to like everybody. There's a ball boy on their team. I think has 2 rushing touchdowns this year.
I don't think Zach Pascal is even qualified to be a ball boy. That's the problem.
I like that. Also, you put the revenge narrative on it too.
Of course.
The revenge narrative. The one play he's on the field, he's gonna go nuts.
Exactly. Let him be up 35-0, and then Zach plus. Please let me in. Let's go.
Let me go. Then it's Zach Pascal time.
It's Zach Pascal season. That's it.
Sheets, I know that's your favorite bet of the day. I'll throw out a couple quick bets, but I think that is your favorite bet, right? The Eagles are going to hammer them, and that one is your favorite. You seem to keep.
That's not my favorite. No, my favorite is Houston Texans, actually.
Ooh. All right. Rody,
but you guys knew that already. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys have been following me, like, at all. I mean, like, Washington with their biggest win in, like, years. Like, I'm coming back on a semi-short week. I mean, there's no way I'm not.
From a Houston team that plays everybody close, too.
Yeah.
That's fair. I will victory lap my win over you on Friday, though. I did say the Heat were a lock. They ended up losing by a point, but they that was quite a game. And I get all excited about the overtime because I got one 5-man stack and the perfect 5-man stack and with Porzingis on the other side. And literally the overtime goes 3-2. And I think there was like 2 fantasy points scored, which is, I don't even know how that's possible in an overtime game. Nobody scored. Look, people are locking in Zach Pascal now, Sheets. This is what's happened.
I just built a line with Pascal too. Let's go.
He's locked.
This is what happens when you just win all the time like Sheets. We all think that it's a genius thing. And by the way, maybe it is.
Lock City, USA, right?
This is a take I love from Scott, I believe, at Poker X Factor. Denmark in the World Cup. That is a bet I can absolutely get behind. I like them to have a chance to win.
That is an announcement worth making. So I forgot. So DFS Chan, he either put it out already or he will. His World Cup preview. It's not the same monopoly that we have on League of Legends. Like League of Legends, I think like DFS Chan's like clearly like the number one League of Legends person in like the world. There are other people that do soccer, like in fairness, but the fact that he's doing it for us is a really, really big deal, especially during the World Cup. So I would listen to whatever he has to say. How about that?
I agree. I've got to make sure to tweet out his thing. He's usually really good about tweeting out his videos. I wanted to tweet that one out, but it's getting a little late now. I love the odds on Denmark, and I love the Denmark. I like Denmark, and I think Switzerland's underrated, and I think that my other sneaky team is they're not going to win it, but I think the U.S. clearly gets. I really do think they get through the first group, and I think that they actually are somewhat competitive and somewhat live. And of all the South American teams, I think it's a year where Brazil, and then I think my last team is Portugal. Those are the teams I'm heaviest on for the World Cup. Portugal is just literally it kills me every year. All right. Anything else, guys? I like Germany as well too. A good call by Poker X Factor there. Anybody else got anything else before we get out of here? Rody, Sheets?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, guys. Well, let's hopefully we'll be back on here either later if somebody wins $1 million, or we'll be in Discord all day. And let's make some money. Let's see some screenshots, and good luck, everybody.
Let's get it.